Welcome back. You're watching Big Deal and we are discussing the importance of data protection rules, which is in formulation at the current moment. Rakesh, Maheshwari, what do you think of first, no compensation to individuals, even if privacy protection is something that the rules will bring in? But what about the aggrieved parties? What's your viewpoint on this?
So I also agree with my panelist colleagues. Yes, there should have been some provision. As of today, it does not. What I am, like my other colleagues, what I am really worried about is the law must finally get implemented.
Yes.
The rules must come out as soon as possible, because even if we bring the draft rules today, it will be about 45 days of public consultation, another 2 months before the rules actually get published, maybe another 8 to 1 year time as a implementation period. That means we are at least 1 year away from today. So that's major worry. This is where we must start, publishing and maybe implementing the act as soon as possible. So that's where I stand.
There is
Of course, I have already conveyed, yes.
Right. So there is an urgency at this time. We have procrastinated enough, and the digital world, the data world, AI world is actually changing very fast. But one question on the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, recommendations for the data protection rules with regards to children. And it says that it needs to enforce, the ministry needs to enforce KYC-based age verification for children on social. What's your view on that?
See, as far as my knowledge goes, NCPCR right from beginning has been emphasizing on the need for KYC for the children while they use the internet, and per se they are open to children being onboarded and being able to access the internet and social media sites particularly. In order to avoid the possible harms, that it is important that the children are encouraged to write their proper age, and hence a proper KYC, either in the form of a SIM as well as maybe as being declared or as being carried out by the platforms on which they are working, is what NCPCR has been emphasizing. Per se, nothing wrong. The only thing is the challenge in the digital world as to how to implement it. The present DPDP Act does really ask for some sort of a verifiable parent consent. So intent-wise, there is no difference between what NCPCR has been saying and what the central government through the Act has said. The challenge lies in how to really implement such a recommendation.
In implementation, will it be effective, Nikhil Pahwa?
I don't think this is implementable, to be honest, and it's ridiculous. Perhaps the NCPCR needs to have people who actually use the internet on their roles, or people who've used the internet as kids on their roles to understand how kids actually use the internet. Look, it's absolutely ridiculous if most of our population is, a significant chunk of our population is below the age of 18. Are you going to say that whenever they sign up for a service, they have to do like an Aadhaar authentication, or they have to have an ID that photograph they will upload? How actually do they expect every single individual to do every single kid to do a KYC for every single app and service that they sign up for? In fact, that is counterproductive when it comes to privacy, because either someone will be storing their facial data or someone will be storing their ID, and there aren't, and cybersecurity is a big concern over there, that data can get hacked, it can be leaked, and you'll have another mess on your hands with spam and scam and impersonation. So I think NCPCR is far distance from reality, and it's a failure on the part of our two ministers at that time, Rajiv Chandrasekhar and Ashwini Vaishnav, and Ashwini Vaishnav is still IT minister, that they actually allowed this bill to go through with such a regressive provision. Verifiable parental consent is another thing that's required. So what do they expect? How do you verify whether someone's a kid or not? For that, you'll have to verify every single individual using the internet. All of us, everyone watching this show in India, will probably have to do a KYC before using every app, before using every website. This is not even enforceable. And so you have a law that they've passed in Parliament, which has zero understanding of how the internet works or how the internet gets used. When it comes to KYC, you're going to do KYC for accessing the internet.
Right.
I'm sorry, but I'm at a loss
Nikhil,
for words.
Right. And I'll take it up from there, Nikhil, since you're at loss of words. Clearly, we'll have to see how these are implemented, whether they are practical and pragmatic in implementation also. But it can be an evolutionary process as well, like most of the laws and most of the new aspects in India generally is. We pick up from where we left next time and improvise. Now, Nappinai, as final comments, of course,
I just wanted to add something, Anisha.
Yes.
There was sufficient feedback that was given to the ministry at each step of the consultation. I've submitted those views that this is not enforceable. So it's not that they didn't know that this is not enforceable, that this won't work. It's willingly they have basically ignored all the recommendations that they got. And it's a fault of the government and the fault of the ministers. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Thanks for making that point quite emphatically, Nikhil. And NS Nappinai, final word and a depth of understanding on how the businesses see. One aspect is data protection and the personal data, where all of us are going to benefit and we'll be protected when it comes to our privacy. But data is also commercial usage. We cannot lose out on this opportunity. The companies and the businesses cannot lose out. This also enables with the guidelines on what the companies can and cannot do. Can you just explain that aspect clearly on the technical aspects of what it enables the industries to do?
Absolutely right. And ultimately, if you look at even the global trends, each of the data protection laws that have come out have actually been enablers. It gives you pointers in terms of what is it that you can do with personal data, how can you use it. So we call it the data principles in terms of collection, retention, usage, sharing, and erasure or transfer, etc. So now when you have a law which tells you how you can go about it, what is it that you can collect, how will you retain it, who will you share it with, who can process it in and what manner, when and how are you expected to de-identify data or anonymize data, and what is that anonymized data expected to be used for, etc., then it actually does indeed enable industry. And it also does so, and this is the utopian picture that I am painting here. So don't assume that I'm saying everything is hunky-dory. This is what it's meant to be. How a law actually plays out is something we'll have to wait and see. But the law is meant to, one, protect against, see, we talked about government surveillance, but we have to understand there is also something called as corporate surveillance. One of the issues that you raised about child content and what Nikhil talked about, the kind of data that will be shared as part of KYC. My concern there is you are then subjecting a child to exposure a lot more than with them just registering on an online platform. You're asking them to share personal data way beyond the remit of a particular platform's requirement. So we have to understand when we talk about personal data, the crucial point of what is needed, what is wanted, and what is just greed in terms of collection or usage, and balance out those protections. You have the enabler through a law. You have to see how well it is implemented and where it is violated. It is now important for India to show by example that the law will be implemented. We did have bare bones provisions even under the IT Act, but where did you see even one case registered for violation of data or breach of data, etc.?
All right. So urgency of the situation, these rules are extremely important. even if it doesn't encapsulate the changing fast dynamics of the AI as well as the data and the digital world, it may be a good start, but it will be very highly evolutionary at a very fast pace as data, digital as well as the AI world really is changing at a fast pace. And one more aspect is the AI ethics. That's also in public eye. So all of this, the entire ecosystem has to develop and evolve in the country. NS Nappinai as well as Nikhil, Pahwa, Rakesh, Maheshwari, thanks so much for your valuable thoughts. Of course, this discussion will be ongoing and a very critical and important one. Thanks so much for tuning in to Big Deal.